A millionaire secretly disguised himself as a security guard in his own restaurant, just to see the truth. What he heard a young waitress say to a cruel customer made him freeze in place. And when he finally revealed who he really was, what happened next changed every life in that room forever. Stay tuned because you are about to watch a beautiful story and find out what happened next. Hello family, welcome to Tales by King. Kindly subscribe to my channel for more beautiful stories. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Andrew Hoffman stood alone in his glass office, high above the city. Below him, cars moved like tiny ants. People hurried with busy lives. He had everything most people dreamed of: money, success, respect. Yet his heart felt heavy. Andrew was the owner of Golden Plate, one of the most famous restaurants in the city. Celebrities dined there. Businessmen held meetings there. The food was praised everywhere. But lately, Andrew had not been sleeping well. Reports kept reaching him. Some said the staff were unhappy. Some said customers were rude, and no one stopped them. Some said the managers cared more about money than people. Whenever Andrew asked questions, the answers sounded perfect. Everything is fine, sir. Our staff is happy, sir. No problems at all. But Andrew had learned something in business and in life. When everything sounds perfect, something is usually wrong. That morning, he made a decision that shocked even himself. I need to see the truth with my own eyes, he said quietly. By evening, Andrew no longer looked like a millionaire. He wore a simple black security uniform, plain shoes, a cap pulled low over his forehead. He left his expensive watch and phone behind. Looking at himself in the mirror, he almost smiled. No one will recognize you now, he whispered. That night, he introduced himself to the staff at the back entrance. My name is Andy, he said calmly. I'm the new security guard. No one looked twice. To them, he was invisible. And that was exactly what he wanted. Andrew stood near the restaurant entrance, opening doors, checking bags, watching quietly. The restaurant was alive. Soft music played. Plates clinked. People laughed and talked loudly. Some guests walked past him without looking. Some treated him like furniture. A few smiled politely. Andrew noticed everything. He watched how staff spoke to each other. He watched how customers behaved when they thought no one important was watching. Then he saw her. Her name tag read, Lily Carter. She was a waitress in a simple cream uniform. Her hair was neatly tied back. She carried trays carefully, moving fast but never rushing people. What caught Andrew's attention was not her speed. It was her kindness. She smiled at tired guests. She spoke softly to angry ones. Even when people ignored her, she stayed polite. Andrew felt something tighten in his chest. This is the kind of worker every business needs, he thought. But he also noticed something painful. Some guests talked down to her. Some clicked their fingers at her. Some spoke to her like she was nothing. Lily never argued. She never raised her voice. She simply nodded and kept going. Andrew's jaw clenched. Standing there in his black uniform, pretending to be just a guard, he realized something important. He did not truly know his own restaurant. Not until now. And before the night would end, 3 simple words from that young waitress would change everything he believed about success, power, and respect. Andrew remained at his post near the entrance, but his eyes kept following Lily as she moved through the restaurant. The night grew busier. More guests arrived. The noise grew louder. The smell of rich food filled the air. Then 3 well-dressed guests were seated at table 7, close to Andrew's position. They looked important. Expensive watches. Sharp voices. Cold smiles. From the first moment, Andrew felt something was wrong. One of the men waved his hand sharply and snapped his fingers in the air. Waitress, he shouted. Lily hurried over with a polite smile. Yes, sir. How may I help you? The man did not even look at her face. This steak is too cold, he said, pushing the plate away. And the soup tastes strange. Lily leaned closer to the plate. I'm sorry, sir. I'll replace it immediately. She picked up the plate carefully and turned to leave. Be quick, another man said with a laugh. We don't have all night. Andrew felt anger rise inside him. He took a small step forward, then stopped himself. Watch. Learn. Don't interfere yet, he told himself. Lily returned quickly with a fresh plate. She placed it gently on the table. Here you are, sir. I made sure it is hot. The man tasted it and frowned. Still not good, he said loudly. Do you people even know how to cook? Nearby guests turned to look. Lily's hands shook slightly, but she kept her voice calm. I'm very sorry, she said. I'll take it back again. Before she could move, the third man leaned back in his chair and smirked. Or maybe, he said, you're just not smart enough to do this job. The words cut deep. Andrew felt his heart pound. This was no longer about food. This was cruelty. Lily stood still for a moment. Her eyes lowered. Her shoulders dropped slightly. The room felt quiet, even though the noise continued. Then Lily took a slow breath. She lifted her head, and in a soft, steady voice she said, "Everyone deserves respect." The table fell silent. Andrew froze. Time seemed to stop. Those 3 words hit him harder than any insult or shout ever could. Not shouted. Not angry. Just honest. Andrew felt something shift inside his chest. He had built an empire on hard work and discipline. But in that moment, he realized something painful. He had not protected the people who carried his dream every day. The man at the table laughed awkwardly. "Relax," he said. "We're just joking." But Lily did not smile. "I will bring another plate," she said quietly. She turned and walked away. Andrew watched her go, his eyes burning. Around him, life returned to normal. Music played again. Guests talked again. But Andrew was no longer the same man who had walked into the restaurant that evening. Standing there in a simple security uniform, he finally understood the truth he had been searching for. This test was not about the staff. It was about him. And now that he had heard those 3 words, he knew he could no longer remain silent. Andrew stood at the entrance long after Lily walked away from table 7. His face stayed calm, like a normal security guard. But inside, his mind was loud. Everyone deserves respect. Those words kept repeating in his head like a bell that would not stop ringing. He watched table 7 again. The men were now laughing, drinking, and talking like nothing happened. They did not look guilty. Andrew felt sick. He wanted to walk straight to their table and tell them who he was. He wanted to throw them out. But he forced himself to breathe. Not yet, he decided. First, I need to understand everything. If he acted too fast, the managers would cover up the truth again. He needed to see the full picture. So he stayed. He watched. And he listened. Near the kitchen doors, Andrew noticed something. The workers moved like people who were afraid. Waiters and waitresses spoke in low voices. They did not laugh. They did not relax, even for 1 minute. A dishwasher dropped a spoon by mistake. The sound was small, but the reaction was big. A man's angry voice came from the kitchen. "Are you useless?" the man shouted. Andrew's eyes narrowed. A moment later, the manager stepped out. His name was Victor Blake. Victor was tall, clean-looking, and always dressed like someone who wanted to be seen as important. He wore a suit even in the heat. He carried a tablet like it was a weapon. Victor walked through the restaurant like a king, and everyone moved out of his way. Andrew watched carefully as Victor approached a young waiter. The waiter's hands were shaking as he held a tray of drinks. Victor whispered something harsh to him. The waiter nodded quickly and rushed away, almost running. Andrew understood. Victor did not lead with respect. He led with fear. The night ended late. When the last guest left, staff began cleaning. Some looked tired. Some looked close to tears. Andrew stayed near the entrance until the doors were locked. Then he walked quietly toward the staff hallway, pretending to check the back exit. That was when he heard 2 workers talking softly. "They cut my break again," a woman said. "I worked 10 hours yesterday." 10 hours. A man replied, "If you complain, Victor says you can leave. He says there are thousands waiting to replace us." The woman sighed. "I can't lose this job." Andrew's stomach tightened. So this was it. It wasn't just rude customers. It was the system inside his own business. And it was hurting good people. The next morning, Andrew returned again, still as Andy the security guard. He could have ended the act right there. But he wanted one more thing. He wanted to know if Lily was always kind, or if she only acted that way in front of customers. So he watched her closely. He noticed Lily arrived early. She greeted the cleaner. "Good morning, Mr. James," she said warmly, helping him lift a heavy bucket. The cleaner smiled like he had not smiled in weeks. "Bless you, my child," he said. Lily tied her apron and began setting tables. She worked quietly. No drama. No gossip. Then something happened. A little boy at a table spilled juice on the floor. His mother looked embarrassed. "Oh no, I'm so sorry." Before anyone could complain, Lily rushed over with a napkin. "It's okay," she said kindly. "Children are children. Don't worry." The mother looked relieved. The boy looked up at Lily and whispered, "Thank you." Lily smiled. "You're welcome, sweetheart." Andrew felt his chest soften. This kindness was not fake. It was real. Later that day, Andrew saw Lily in the hallway behind the kitchen. She was washing her hands when Victor walked in. Victor's face was already angry. "You," he said sharply, pointing at Lily. "Why was table 7 complaining yesterday?" Lily swallowed. "I corrected the meals, sir. I replaced the plate twice." Victor stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I don't care how many times you replaced it," he hissed. "You embarrassed us. You talked back to the customer." Lily's eyes widened. "I didn't talk back." Victor lifted his hand slightly, not to hit her, but to scare her. "Watch your tone," he said. "You are replaceable." Lily's lips trembled, but she forced herself to nod. "Yes, sir." Victor walked away like he had won. Andrew stood at the end of the hallway, watching it all. His hands clenched. His heart burned. And in that moment, he made a quiet promise to himself. No one would be threatened in his restaurant again. But he still needed to be careful. Because Victor did not just look like a bad manager. He looked like a man with secrets. And Andrew knew one thing for sure. If Victor could treat workers like this in private, then he was probably hiding much worse behind the scenes. Andrew did not leave the hallway immediately. He stayed still like a shadow. He watched Victor disappear into the office area. Then Andrew turned and looked at Lily. She stood by the sink, holding the edge of the counter. Her shoulders were stiff, like she was trying not to fall apart. For a moment, Andrew wanted to speak. To tell her, "You're not alone." But he remembered his plan. If he revealed himself too early, Victor would hide the truth again. And Lily might even be punished more. So Andrew simply walked past like a normal guard. But as he passed her, he did something small. He dropped his key ring on purpose. The keys fell with a loud metal sound. Lily jumped slightly and looked up. Andrew bent and picked them up slowly. Then he leaned closer and whispered just one sentence, soft enough so no one else could hear. "Keep your strength," he said. "You did nothing wrong." Lily blinked in surprise. Before she could reply, Andrew straightened up and walked away. But those words stayed with her. And those words stayed with him too. That night, Andrew returned home, but he did not sleep. He sat on his couch with a notepad. He wrote down everything he had seen. Staff working in fear. Breaks being cut. People being threatened. Customers humiliating workers. A manager acting like a bully. Then Andrew paused and stared at one point for a long time. Victor Blake. Andrew knew one thing clearly now. Victor was not just strict. Victor was cruel. And cruelty always grows when no one stops it. Andrew realized he had been absent for too long. He had trusted reports instead of reality. But now he was awake. And he was going to fix it the right way. Not with anger. With truth. With proof. The next morning, Andrew called his private assistant, Marian Cole. Marian had worked with Andrew for many years. She was smart, calm, and loyal. "Marianne," Andrew said, "I need you to do something quietly." "Anything, sir," she replied. "I want full staff records," he said. "Pay reports. Work schedules. Complaints. Everything from the last 6 months." There was a short silence. "Is something wrong at Golden Plate?" Marian asked carefully. Andrew's voice became firm. "Yes," he said, "and I'm going to handle it today." That evening, Golden Plate was packed. It was Friday night. The kind of night where rich people came to show off. The kind of night where Victor Blake smiled the most, because money would be flowing. Andrew arrived early, still dressed as the security guard. He stood by the entrance and watched. Victor walked around, greeting VIP guests like he was the owner. He laughed loudly. He shook hands. He acted important. And the staff, they acted scared. Lily moved from table to table, focused and quiet. Andrew noticed dark shadows under her eyes. She looked tired, but she still smiled at customers. Andrew respected her even more. Then something happened that made Andrew's blood run cold. An old man entered the restaurant slowly. His clothes were clean but simple. His shoes looked worn. He stood near the entrance, looking around like he was unsure if he belonged there. Before Andrew could speak, Victor suddenly rushed forward. "Hey!" Victor snapped. "What are you doing here?" The old man blinked. I'm looking for my daughter. She works here. Her name is Lily Carter." Andrew's heart stopped for a second. "Her father." Victor's face twisted in disgust. "This is a high-class restaurant," Victor said. "Not a place for people like you. Get out." The old man's eyes widened. "Please. I only want to speak to her for 1 minute. She hasn't been answering her phone." Victor stepped closer, voice low and dangerous. If you don't leave now, I'll call the police. The old man's hands shook. He looked embarrassed. He looked hurt. Andrew moved forward instantly. But before Andrew could speak, Lily appeared from behind. "Dad," she whispered. Her face turned pale. The old man looked relieved. "Lily," he said softly, "thank God. I was worried." Victor snapped his head toward Lily. "Why is he here?" Victor barked. Lily's voice shook. "He's my father." Victor scoffed. "Well, tell your father to leave," Victor said loudly, so people could hear. "This place is not a street corner." Some guests turned to watch. Andrew's chest burned with anger. Lily looked around at the staring faces. Humiliation filled her eyes. But she swallowed hard and stood tall. Then she said the words again, quiet but clear. "Everyone deserves respect." The whole entrance area fell silent. Guests paused. Staff stopped moving. Even Victor hesitated. Andrew froze too, not because he was shocked this time, but because he knew something. This was the moment that would show everybody the truth. Andrew took one step forward, then another, and with calm power, he reached up and removed his security cap. The room felt frozen. Andrew stood at the entrance, his security cap now in his hand. Slowly, he straightened his back. His voice was calm, but it carried power. "My name is Andrew Hoffman," he said, "and I am the owner of Golden Plate." A sharp silence followed. Forks stopped midair. Whispers died instantly. Victor's confident smile vanished. Guests stared at Andrew in disbelief. Victor laughed nervously. This is a joke, right?" he said. Andrew looked at him, his eyes steady. "No," Andrew replied. "This is the truth." Andrew turned to the old man standing beside Lily. "Sir," Andrew said gently, "you are welcome here. Please forgive what just happened." The old man nodded slowly, still shocked. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Andrew then faced the room again. "For weeks," Andrew continued, "I have worked here disguised as a security guard. I watched how people were treated when they thought no one important was watching." His eyes moved to the staff. "I saw fear," he said. "I saw silence. And I saw kindness that survived cruelty." Then he turned to Lily. "This young woman showed dignity when she was insulted. She showed kindness when she was threatened. And she spoke truth when it was hard." Victor tried to speak. "Sir, I was only doing my job." Andrew raised his hand. "Your job," he said firmly, "was to protect people. You chose to break them instead." Victor's face went pale. Andrew continued. "Effective immediately, Victor Blake, you are dismissed from your position." A soft gasp moved through the room. Victor opened his mouth, but no words came out. Security approached and quietly escorted him away. Andrew took a deep breath and looked at everyone. "Golden Plate will change," he said. "From today, no worker will be threatened. No guest will be allowed to insult staff. Respect will be the rule." He turned to Lily again. "Lily Carter," Andrew said, "you reminded me why I started this business." Lily wiped her tears. "I want you to become our staff supervisor," Andrew continued. "Not because you suffered, but because you lead with kindness." Lily covered her mouth. I don't know what to say," she whispered. Andrew smiled. "Say yes," he replied gently. She nodded. "Yes." Applause filled the restaurant. Weeks later, Golden Plate felt different. Staff laughed again. Breaks were honored. Customers were polite, or asked to leave. Lily grew into her new role with grace. She defended workers. She corrected mistakes with patience. She led by example. Andrew returned to his office, but not to hide. He walked the restaurant often. He spoke to staff by name. He listened. And Lily's father visited often too, now welcomed, respected, and proud. One evening, Andrew stood at the entrance again. Not in a uniform, but in a simple suit. He watched Lily guide a new worker with a warm smile. And Andrew understood the final lesson. Money builds businesses, but respect builds people. And people build everything that lasts. Golden Plate became famous for more than food. It became a place where dignity lived. And all of it began with 3 simple words. Everyone deserves respect. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you find this story worth watching. If you do, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories, like, comment, and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thanks for watching.